Today we are going to discuss about the fourth parameter in the ray theory of transmission, that is skew rays. Before going further into the skew rays, we will just see a light ray, how broadly it is classified. There are two types of light rays that we can use for the propagation through the optical fiber. One is meridional rays, which we have already seen the concept of meridional rays in case of acceptance angle. When we were dealing with the acceptance angle, here whatever rays we have considered, this A, B, whatever rays, they are meridional rays. Okay, so this is one type. The second type is skew rays. So in the ray theory of transmission, you have the study of skew rays, but you should know briefly what is this meridional ray, how it is defined. So this is the figure when we are dealing with the acceptance angle, the same figure we considered. This is your optical fiber. The center part is the core. This is your axis of the fiber. This is your cladding. Okay, and light is entering in this angle. We call this as acceptance angle, right? So meridional rays, a ray of light crossing the axis core every time after total internal reflection. What do you mean by this? When a ray enters from air, okay, this is through air. Whenever we use optical source, okay, to produce this light. So this is the source, that is a ray of light. It hits here. This is the interface between air and the core part. When it hits, it undergoes a refraction here. Okay, a slight bending should be there. So there is a refraction here. This is your angle of refraction. This is your acceptance angle. Once it gets refracted, it again reflection occurs here. It hits this boundary interface. It hits and it goes in this way. So every time, if you observe the path of the ray, after every total internal reflection at these points, red dots, what you can see, the ray is crossing the axis. This is your axis core, center. It is crossing. Every time it is crossing through, by whenever it goes total, it goes through the total internal reflection. So that's what meridional rays are. And light ray and core of the axis, they are in the same plane. So the plane is same. The whatever it is hitting and whatever total internal reflection is occurring, the rays are crossing the core axis. So the light ray, whatever is passing, and the core axis, both are in the same plane. This is very important thing in case of meridional rays. Let us talk about what is skew rays, which is actually there for your study. You can view here. Again, I have drawn an optical fiber indicating the structure having core and cladding. This is the face. This is your center part. Okay, this is your axis of the core and core cladding. Okay. If you observe, there is a ray coming here. Unlike this, where it is hitting at the center here and undergoes refraction, the center is somewhere here and the ray is somewhere here. So here there is no necessity that the ray should be within this angle. It is decided by some other parameters, and the parameter and the value of acceptance angle is different for skew rays. And if you see the rays, spring-like structure you can see inside this spring. Okay, and if you see, they are not touching, even though on two-dimensional paper I cannot show you if this is your central axis and if this is the helix drawn, No doubt these lines are crossing this axis, but actually they are not touching. You imagine one spring and at the center one rod. So whether the rod and the spring they are getting touched, rod is the central axis and the spring is, you know, surrounding it. So in that way the waves travel, unlike the meridional rays where the total internal reflection is taking place, and whatever core axis is there and the ray which is passing, both are in the same plane. But here the case is completely different. The ray, it passes in the helical like structure. Okay. Another category of ray exists which is transmitted without passing through the axis of the fiber. They don't cross the, you know, the axis in this form, the way meridional rays do. Unlike that, they don't touch the axis. Okay, they don't cross the axis. They follow a helical path through the fiber as shown. You can see it, and they are called skew rays. More clearly you can visualize here. This is your incident ray, and see, observe, this is the center point. Okay, center of the core, this is the axis. In agar wo meridional ray hota, so if it was a meridional ray, we could have used a ray something like this, which will directly, you know, touch the center axis and refraction is taking place. It is not like that. In case of skew rays, it is totally different. The incident wave is somewhere, incident light ray, it is not exactly at the center. It will hit the surface, this surface face of the optical fiber somewhere. We don't know what that value is, we will see it later. And after that, if you see the paths, some straight lines, small straight lines I have shown you, just like round, okay, some small, they indicate refraction. Continuous refraction is taking place and they follow a helical path in this form. And imagine, don't forget that even though on paper you can see these helical lines, they are touching the core, but in fact in practice it is not like that. In three-dimensional view, if you visualize spring and at the center one rod, so they don't touch each other. And if you see, this is the front view. Inside, how ray is passing, and they undergo continuous refractions. And this is not one single, okay, continuous spring. If you see the spring, if you see the spring structure, if you see the front view, only this structure is available, visible to you. However, there is a long wave, long spring going. The length you cannot visualize from the front view. Okay, I hope you understood what I'm trying to tell you. If this is your spring, if you look from the front view, only one circle is visible to you, one you know, round is visible. You cannot imagine the length only from the front view. Only what this round loop is there, only one loop is visible. So one loop doesn't mean that there is only one loop. Inside there are many, because it is the length of the spring is long, so many loops are available. This structure is important from the front view. If you see, many refractions, they are touching a point of reflection. You can see these are all hitting the points and getting reflected. These are all the point of reflections. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Presently 5 I have shown in the figure. And if you see, this is the radius. These angles are called gamma. Okay, this gamma is totally different from what you use in your microwave and antennas propagation constant. This is different. So gamma is the angle. So 2 times, if you see, this is 1 gamma, this is 2 gamma. Here the helical path traced through the fiber, it gives a change in the direction of 2 gamma at each reflection. Try to understand this line. Whenever No doubt 5 points I have shown you here, points of reflections, but change in the directions are taking place at change in the directions at the angles 2 gamma. If you see, if this is the angle, okay, if this is the direction is in this way. Example, after 2 gamma, the direction is reversed. And similarly, if you continue like that, after every 2 gamma angle, your direction of the ray will reverse. That's what it means. So gamma, what is gamma? Gamma is the angle between the projection of the ray in 2-dimensional and the radius of the core. This radius and this is the projection. Projection is nothing but the path at the point of reflection. These are the points. 5 points I have shown you here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. Okay, if you don't consider this, 5. The point of emergence of skew rays from the fiber in the air. What do you mean by this? Point of projection, point of emergence. Emergence means what? Coming out. So the point of emergence of skew rays from the fiber in the air. I am talking about the receiving side. If this is your optical fiber, I am not talking about this part. I am talking about this part. Okay, from the fiber in the air. So when the skew rays inside they travel, okay, when they come out from the fiber into the air, when they come out, we don't know in which direction they will come out. Okay, it all in case of meridional rays, the total internal reflection acceptance angle, the central axis, everything is predetermined. Okay, you can have some predictions. If this is the angle, at this point your ray is going to come out, at this angle the ray will be there. Or those predictions can happen in meridional rays. But in case of skew rays, as they are helical in their transmission, so you don't know at what angle they will come out. So that's what it means. The point of emergence of skew rays from the fiber in the air, okay, the receiving part, it will totally depend on the number of reflections that they undergo. So inside ye kitne loops honge, how many number of loops are there, it depends on that. कौन से angle में बाहर आने वाला है. For example, if only see there are 2 reflections here in this figure. Let us take the example of this figure only. If you see, there are only 2 loops. So at this point it is coming in this way. So some angle with respect to the core, it is coming out. If you take one more loop, what will happen? So in this direction they will come out with this angle. So that's what it means. So the point of emergence of skew rays from the fiber into the air, it all depends on ये अंदर कितनी बार loops रहेंगे, how many number of reflections that they undergo inside the fiber. So उसके ऊपर वो dependent रहेगा. When the light input to the fiber is non-uniform, so that's what, if you see, I have drawn 2 figures here. One is this, wherein you can have some straight line kind of things inside. Instead of a smooth line, I have drawn smaller lines here. See, 1, 2, 3, 4. It is not a circle. Some smaller lines are there. And here in the first figure, smoother helix I have shown you, a completely spring-like structure. So why this difference? This all depends upon the light quality. Whenever the light input to the fiber is non-uniform, the skew rays will tend to have smoothing effect. आपको ऐसे first figure वाला जैसा चाहिए output. So whatever light incident, the ray of light which we use for the transmission, it should be non-uniform. Then this smoothing effect will come. This is not smoother. It has got some rough, directions. Okay. Now, important thing, in order to, just like in meridional rays, we calculated the acceptance angle, if you remember. This was numerical aperture. Theta A was the acceptance angle. Okay, for acceptance angle, we have got some equation in terms of numerical aperture. N naught sine theta A is equal to square root of N1 square minus N2 square. This was the equation we had derived in the previous sessions. And this equation will give you the relation between acceptance angle, refractive indices, and what? In turn, from this equation, we got numerical aperture concept. Okay. So we have already defined what is the acceptance angle. This is by default for meridional rays. Now for similarly for skew rays, we will go for acceptance angle. Please make sure that you understand this figure very clearly. It is very important. If you understand this figure, then the calculations will become easy to understand. In order to calculate the acceptance angle for skew rays, let us consider the geometry of the situation as shown. Okay. If you see, hope it is clearly visible to all of you. Let me first show you, just zoom out a little. Okay. Now it is completely visible. Okay. So this is air from where the light rays, Q rays are coming. Okay. This is the center part of the core axis. Point A, it is the point at which the rays, Q rays hitting the surface, the interface. Okay. And theta S is the angle of incidence. Theta is the angle of refraction. Once it hits the point A, what is happening here? It is there is refraction here. Okay, see, this is air and this is core. Fine. So incident red line indicates the rays coming. It hits the interface at point A and it undergoes a refraction. Green line indicates the refraction. After this, what is happening? Ray will move. It will hit point B. What is the difference you find between this figure and the meridional rays figure? Let me just show you quickly for comparison. If you see, probably the same figure we have used even for, here. If you see here, when the ray comes, hits the core center axis, there it undergoes a refraction, refraction. After that, it continues. And at this point, say point B, at this point, it undergoes a reflection, total internal reflection. Important point to remember is this complete part is core, and these two are the parts of the cladding, right? This is your center core. This is the front view. So these two lines, what I'm indicating, it is cladding, and this is the core. So it is hitting the internal core surface. Here, whatever refraction occurs, when it touches point B, total internal reflection is happening with the critical angle. Okay, same angles. So this is all is happening inside the core. Now coming to our figure. Okay, coming to our figure. It moves, hits the core at point B. Okay. In our considerations, point A and point B are important. Ray path point A and point B are important because if you see, when the ray coming from somewhere from air it is coming When it hits at point A, it is in this plane. Whatever dots I am drawing, this is one plane. This is a three-dimensional figure. Please try to imagine a two-dimensional figure. Try to imagine 3D view, okay? Cylinder. Try to imagine cylinder. This is one plane. The red dots which I have indicated. And if you see the point B, this is one more plane. So unlike in meridional rays, there is only one plane, that too core. Okay. Here, as the hitting surface is point A, it is not the center. Earlier it was at the center, so only one plane we considered. But here there are two cases, two planes to be considered, as it will hit at point A and the point of reflection is point B. So whatever dotted lines I have drawn from A, this is one plane, and whatever dotted lines I have drawn for B, it is second plane. Two planes have to be considered here for analysis in order to find acceptance angle. Okay, and S is the center axis, center point. And if you see, the angles are very important here. Let me just erase everything so that it is clearly visible to all of you. This is your incidence angle theta s, and after this it gets refracted. This is the angle of refraction theta, and since this is theta, this is also theta. Okay, from this geometry. And if you see the structure, this is the core part. From the center distance to this angle is your gamma. I have already shown you what is gamma. Here, this gamma I'm talking about. Okay, this gamma is shown, the ray and the radius to point distance. Here also you can see there is a ray and radius to that point distance. Okay, this is gamma. Now this structure is over. Okay, incidence angle, there is a refraction, center point is S, gamma. Okay, and you know this already. N1 is the refractive index of core, N2 is for cladding, N0 is for air. Okay, the structure is on the towards the face of the optical fiber. Let us come to this point, this part. Here if you observe, this is point B. Point B is the point of reflection. At this point, it is hitting, the ray is hitting and getting reflected. And if you draw a projection, okay, projection is what? The perpendicular, okay, projection to the second plane. Okay, second plane, if you draw this, if you draw a projection, you can see it here. This angle is angle of incidence because this ray is coming. Ray is coming from this, hits the point, and this is the projection. It reflects. So this is your angle of incidence. This is your angle of reflection, that is phi. And for your total internal reflections and limiting case of TIR, phi is equal to phi c. If you remember the yesterday's class, we have seen this. Phi equals to phi c is the limiting case of total internal reflection. And if this becomes greater, then it will become total internal reflection. Okay, this is your angle of incidence and angle of reflection, that they are equal to phi c. And one more thing, again, similar to this figure, if you see, compare this, compare both the figures. From this point, Okay, whatever point B you have, this is that point. Let me show you with some other color. This is your point. If you just compare it with this, both are same points, and the line which you have drawn from A to this point, it is similar to this projection. It is not a straight line. Okay, try to imagine 3D cylinder structure, and there is a line radius, and this is the line radius. So this is your gamma, so this also will be equal to gamma. Okay, comparative, whatever this cross section point is there, the similar thing is available here. Just the difference is यहाँ पे मैंने yes use किया है notation, यहाँ पे R use किया है. Okay, so please try to understand the figure. If you understand the figure clearly, then the derivation will become easy for you. Okay, with this background, let me just start the derivation. A skew ray, you know already, it is incident on the fiber at the point A. The same explanation is given. At point A, it is incident. At angle theta s, it is angle theta s, it is incident, and it is perpendicular to the fiber end face. Perpendicular, don't think that it is coming, it is slant, and it's like 3D view structure, slant, both are slant. It is perpendicular to the fiber face and the whatever ray is coming, they are perpendicular. The ray is refracted at the air core interface. Yes, here it is getting refracted. This is the angle theta. Angle of refraction is theta. Not mentioned, I guess, before traveling to point B. Okay, the angle of incidence and the reflection at the, now I'm talking about point B. The angle of incidence and reflection at point B are phi only. Yes, they are phi only. Angle of incidence and angle of reflection, both are phi only. And for your total internal reflection, it should be greater than the or equal to critical angle, or it is equal to critical angle for limiting case. When we consider the ray between point A and B, okay, as I said, two planes have to be considered. One is this line which is passing B, one is the other line which is passing A. Two planes have to be considered here. Okay, it is necessary. We need to resolve the direction of the path AB into the core at the point B. Okay, here important concept comes. This is very important to remember. If you see at point B, angle phi, this gamma and theta, all are for this within the same plane. Whatever I'm talking about. This is one plane. Okay. So whatever angle phi, gamma and theta, not theta, angle gamma and phi, these two are in one plane and they are called adjacent angles. Remember this, out of three angles, phi, gamma, theta, phi and gamma are called adjacent angles with respect to the point B. And in similar way, the third angle is theta. Theta is called opposite angle. Phi and gamma are adjacent angles. Theta is called the opposite angle. Because of this, when phi and gamma are called adjacent angles, we make use of cos term before phi and gamma. And since theta is opposite angle, we make use of sine term. Okay, opposite sine theta, adjacent cos theta. Okay, not theta, cos angle. So with that concept, phi is an adjacent angle, it will become cos phi. And gamma is also adjacent angle, it will become cos gamma. And theta is the opposite angle, it will become what? Sine theta. Sine, not cos. Phi and gamma are cos terms and theta is a sine term. Because of this, when we make use of two planes, okay, two planes, one is this plane the other one is this plane. When we are talking about two different planes, these three angles are related by means of a cosine theorem. Okay, what a cosine theorem says, according to the cosine theorem, cos phi is equal to sine theta into cos gamma. This is the cosine theorem applied. With this, sine theta will be equal to cos phi by cos gamma. Further, remember, everything is mathematical. Using trigonometric relation, sine square plus cos square equals to 1. What I can use in the earlier, cos phi is equal to sine and cos. Cos phi is equal to sine and cos. In this, LHS, I will keep it as it is, cos gamma and sine theta. Instead of cos phi, I will write 1 minus sine square, square root of 1 minus sine square. After that, what I will do, I will make use of limiting case of total internal reflection. According to the limiting case of limiting case of total internal reflection, phi will become equal to the critical angle. So wherever phi is there, I will replace phi with phi c. So what will be LHS? Cos gamma sine theta is equal to cos phi c, using the limiting case of total internal reflection, and this will become sine square phi c. Okay, this as it is, this as it is. Here sine phi c is equal to n2 by n1. We have already used this equation. Sine phi c is equal to n2 by n1. I have substituted that square term. Okay, so 1 minus n2 square by n1 square. Now using, this is all whatever I have dealt, this is all with respect to point B I am talking. So point B is over. Let us apply Snell's law at point A, air core interface. If I apply N0 and N1 are the refractive indices. Using Snell's law at the point A, first medium is air, N0 sine theta A is equal to, in the figure for here, I have taken theta S, right? So in the figure you can see it is theta S. It is for skew rays. But whatever I am using here, the concept equation which I am using Snell's law in general, it is for meridional rays. We will see what changes we can do it. Is equal to N1 sine theta. Why N1 sine theta? Second medium is core and angle is theta, using Snell's law. So when we apply Snell's law, we will get this. So theta is the angle for meridional rays. We know this. But for skew rays, it should change, right? AS, we will add S indicating skew rays. So theta AS, we will change it to. So what I will do in this, cos phi, I will keep it as it is. Instead of sine theta, this is sine theta, I will put N0 by N1, N0 by 1. I am just rearranging the Snell's law. I will take the equation for sine theta, N0 by N1 into sine theta A. N0 by N1 into sine theta A, cos as it is, and this as it is. Okay, then what I am doing, this, for our skew rays, I will change the angle. Okay, remaining all same. Then simple readjustments is equal to cos term as it is. Whatever N0 by N1, I will take it to the other side. So N1 by N0, and cos term comes to the denominator. Or I can even use this along with this two rounds what I have done. Let me take these two rounds. First one and second one. With that, it will be sine is equal to N0 by N1 will become N1 by N0, and cos will go to the denominator, and this as it is. Further simplification, N0, I am taking it to the side, N0 sine and cos is equal to, only the third term let me take, not the second one, only third term let me take. If I take the third term, this with this, okay, rearrange the terms. Denominator multiplied with sine and cos phi. This is equal to n1 square root of, or n0 this is equal to, take n1 inside, it will become n square. So n square cancels, n1 minus n2, and this is nothing but numerical aperture. So if you see, this is your equation for numerical aperture in case of with the acceptance angle theta as for skew rays. But for meridional rays, we have got this. Try to compare what is the difference. LHS is same, or RHS is same. LHS only cos gamma term is extra. So this sine term is same for both. This is for skew, this is for meridional rays. So what it indicates, skew rays, they are accepted at larger angles because it is multiplied by cos gamma. One extra term is there. So what do you mean by that extra term? It is nothing but skew rays, they accept more angles, larger angles compared to the